Hello and welcome to this video on the World Trade Organization, the WTO, and trading blocks. So in this video we're going to look at the role of the WTO and then look at the similarities and conflicts between the WTO and trading blocks. So this is an important term when we look at the WTO, trade liberalization. This is really their primary aim, and it's the removal of trade barriers and introducing free trade. So the WTO, or World Trade Organization, is a body that aims to liberalize trade around the world, i.e. lower trade barriers. It does this by providing governments with a forum, a place to meet and to negotiate trade agreements that all members are party to. In addition to promoting free trade, the WTO also performs other functions. It acts as a body that will settle disputes between member countries to do with trade and also provides a system of trade rules. So here's an example of a WTO meeting. We can see here there's lots of countries involved, and they've sent ambassadors here to negotiate on their behalf. And they may be discussing things like the removal of tariffs on primary products or granting countries fairer access to markets. All of these sorts of things to promote free trade, promote comparative advantage, to try and increase global prosperity. So the World Trade Organization has a set of agreements that are underlying principles. One of them is the most favored nation principle, and this implies that countries cannot discriminate between their trading partners. For example, a reduction of a tariff for one country must be extended to all countries. And secondly is national treatment. Imported and locally produced products must be treated equally once the foreign goods have entered the market. Now, these days, most countries are members of the WTO. 95% of world trade is undertaken by WTO member countries, compared with 91% in 1995. But the WTO increasingly faces a number of challenges. One of them is the complexity of production. So countries typically specialize in areas in which they have comparative advantage. This then incentivizes countries to try and pursue or agree trade agreements with another country to then trade and exchange, rather than agreeing trade agreements with all countries. Shifting global economic power is creating a lot of challenges for the WTO. A lot of emerging and developing economies aspire to have greater share of trade, whilst many developed nations try and protect their position. And overcoming this strain is a key challenge for the WTO. Another big challenge is the fragmentation of the global trading system. A big risk for the WTO is that a lot of regional trade agreements made through trading blocks are bypassing attempts to secure global trade deals. So a lot of countries are now securing deals with their trading bloc partners at the expense of other countries. And so the idea that we can have global trade deals where all countries are party to the deal is put under pressure. So there are some comparisons here to be drawn between what trading blocks are trying to achieve and the WTO, the World Trade Organization. So both these organizations, or both these things, have a similarities in that the WTO also seeks to reduce trade barriers and promote world trade, and that can be similar to the objective of trading blocks in that trade blocks often encourage specialization between member states. Both organizations would argue that they are involved in trade creation. They can lead to more economies of scale, and they can make fairer competition occur. However, there can be some conflict between trade blocks, these organizations, and the WTO, because trade blocks might conflict with WTO because they distort trade to some extent by creating barriers, particularly when you go for a customs union or higher. By implementing a tariff for non-members, they're distorting trade. So this might have a negative impact on non-members and lead to a less efficient overall allocation of resources, or production process. Often it can lead to retaliation as well between trading blocs, and so more protectionism. So in this video, we've looked at the role of the WTO and looked at the similarities and conflicts between the WTO and trading blocs. That's it. Thanks very much for listening.